My name is Ryan, and I never thought I'd be the kind of guy writing one of these posts. You know the ones. Relationship drama that makes you cringe and wonder how people end up in these situations. Yet here I am, still processing what happened between me and my girlfriend Amber last week. Amber and I have been together for 2 years. We moved in together 6 months ago, and overall, things had been going well. We both work full-time. I'm in IT and she's in marketing. We split the rent and utilities evenly, and we each had our own spending money for personal things. It was a system that worked for us. At least, that's what I thought. I'm a casual gamer, not someone who spends every waking hour playing video games, but I enjoy unwinding with a few hours of gameplay after a long day. When the PS5 first came out, I saved for months to get one. Anyone who tried to buy one knows how difficult they were to find, especially at retail price. I ended up waiting in virtual queues for weeks before I was finally able to snag one. It wasn't just the console that was important to me. It was the accomplishment of being patient and saving for something I really wanted. Amber knew how much it meant to me. She'd tease me sometimes about being married to my PlayStation, but it was always good-natured. She had her own hobbies and interests that I supported, including her collection of designer bags that she carefully curated over the years. Each one had a story, a promotion, a birthday, a special trip. I respected what they meant to her, even if I didn't understand spending that much on a bag. The trouble started last Tuesday. I came home from work, exhausted after a particularly difficult day dealing with a system outage. All I wanted was to relax with some gaming before dinner. But when I walked into our living room, something felt off. It took me a moment to realize what was wrong. My PS5 was missing from its spot under the TV. At first I thought Amber might have moved it for cleaning. I called out to her, "Hey, where's the PlayStation?" She walked in from the kitchen, a strange smile on her face. "Oh, about that. We needed some emergency money, so I sold it." I stared at her, certain I'd misheard. "You what?" "I sold it," she repeated, her tone casual as if she'd done nothing more significant than rearranging the furniture. "Don't worry, I got a good price for it, $600. "You sold my PS5 without asking me?" I could feel my blood pressure rising. "What emergency are you talking about?" She waved her hand dismissively. "We've been a little short this month, and I wanted to make sure we had a cushion. Plus, you spend too much time on that thing anyway. It's for the best." I was speechless. We weren't short on money, at least, not that I knew of. We both had steady incomes, and our bills were paid on time. Even if we were having financial issues, selling my belongings without my permission was completely out of line. "Amber, we're not short on money," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "Our rent is paid, our utilities are covered. What's this really about?" She shrugged, still not seeming to grasp how upset I was. "I just thought we could use the extra cash. My friend Megan is going through a rough patch, and I lent her some money." And there it was, the real reason. Not our emergency, but her friend's. She had sold my possession to give money to someone else. "You sold my PS5 to give money to your friend?" I asked, incredulous. "Why didn't you just use your own money?" I didn't have enough," she admitted. "And I didn't think you'd mind that much. It's just a game console, Ryan. You can always buy another one later." Just a game console. As if the hours I'd spent trying to buy it, the money I'd saved, and the fact that it was mine didn't matter at all. I was furious, but I knew that escalating the argument wouldn't solve anything. I needed time to think. "I'm going out," I said, grabbing my keys. "Don't wait up." I spent the next few hours driving around trying to process what had happened. It wasn't just about the PS5. It was about the disrespect, the violation of boundaries, the assumption that my belongings were somehow less important than hers. Would she have been so cavalier if I had sold one of her designer bags without asking? That's when the idea hit me. Maybe Amber needed to understand how it felt to have something important taken away without consent. An eye for an eye wasn't usually my style, but normal communication clearly wasn't working here. I went back to our apartment late that night. Amber was already asleep, or pretending to be. I lay awake for hours, thinking about what I was planning to do. Part of me felt it was petty, but another part felt it was the only way to make her understand. The next morning, Amber left early for work as usual. As soon as she was gone, I went to her closet and carefully removed 3 of her designer bags. A Louis Vuitton tote she'd bought after getting her promotion last year, a Gucci crossbody that had been a birthday gift from her parents, and a Prada clutch she'd saved for months to buy. Together they were worth significantly more than my PS5, but I wasn't trying to punish her financially. I just wanted her to feel what I had felt. I took the bags to a high-end consignment store that specialized in designer items. The woman at the counter was delighted to get them, especially since they were all in excellent condition with authentication cards. After some negotiation, she offered me $3,200 for all 3 bags. It was less than Amber had paid for them, but consignment never gives full value. I accepted the offer and left with a receipt and a cashier's check. When I got home, I hid the check and receipt in my desk drawer and waited for Amber to return from work. I knew she usually didn't use those specific bags during the week, so there was a good chance she wouldn't notice they were missing until the weekend. But I wasn't trying to be sneaky. I wanted her to know, to feel that moment of shock and betrayal that I had felt. As expected, Amber came home that evening without noticing anything amiss. We had an awkward, tense dinner where neither of us mentioned the PS5. She seemed to think that if she just acted normal, I would eventually get over it. I kept my face neutral. Friday evening, Amber was getting ready to go out with her friends. That's when I heard it. The sharp intake of breath, followed by increasingly frantic movements from our bedroom. "Ryan," she called out, her voice rising in panic, "have you seen my bags, the Louis and the Gucci? And my Prada clutch? I can't find them anywhere." I walked calmly into the bedroom. Amber was on her knees, digging through her closet. Purses and shoeboxes scattered around her. "Oh, those," I said casually. "We needed some emergency money, so I sold them." She froze, then slowly turned to look at me, her face a mixture of shock and fury. "You what?" "I sold them," I repeated, using the same dismissive tone she had used with me. "Don't worry, I got a good price for them. $3,200. "You sold my bags?" she shrieked, standing up. "Are you insane? Those were mine. You had no right." "Just like you had no right to sell my PS5, I asked quietly. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, realization dawning on her face. "That's what this is about? You sold my bags because I sold your stupid game console?" "It wasn't yours to sell," I said firmly. "Just like your bags weren't mine to sell. The difference is, I'm willing to give you this." I pulled the cashier's check from my pocket. "This is the money from your bags. You can buy them back from the consignment store if you want, or keep the money, your choice." She stared at the check, then back at me. "You actually sold my bags? My Louis Vuitton? The one I got when I was promoted? And you actually sold my PS5, I countered. The one I waited months to buy. That meant something to me. How does it feel, Amber?" She snatched the check from my hand, tears welling in her eyes. "It feels awful. Those bags meant something to me. They were memories, achievements." "So was my PS5, I said quietly. "But you dismissed it as just a game console that I could replace later. You didn't think about what it meant to me, only what it was worth to you." She sat heavily on the bed, the check clutched in her hand. For the first time, I could see that she was really thinking about what she had done, seeing it from my perspective. I didn't think of it that way," she admitted quietly. "I just saw something valuable that could help Megan." "If you needed money to help your friend, you could have asked me," I said, sitting next to her. "We could have discussed it. Maybe I would have contributed willingly. But you took that choice away from me." She was quiet for a long moment. "Where did you sell them?" she finally asked. "Elite Consignment on 5th Street, I told her. "I have the receipt. They're still there. I made sure they wouldn't sell them right away." She nodded, wiping a tear from her cheek. "And the PS5? Where did I sell it?" "GameStop on Main," I said, having checked her browsing history the night before, "but they probably sold it already." She stood up, grabbing her phone. "Let me make a call." I waited as she stepped into the hallway. I could hear fragments of her conversation, asking if they still had a PS5, explaining that it had been sold by mistake, offering to pay more than they had given her for it. After several minutes, she came back, looking relieved but embarrassed. "They still have it," she said. "The manager is holding it for me. I'll go get it tomorrow morning." "Thank you," I said simply. She sat back down beside me. "I'm sorry, Ryan. I really am. I didn't think about how it would feel for you. I just saw a solution to a problem and took it. And I'm sorry I sold your bags," I said. "I could have found another way to make my point, but I needed you to understand." She nodded slowly. "I understand now. It feels horrible to have something taken from you, something that matters to you." We sat in silence for a while, the tension between us slowly easing. It wasn't completely resolved. Trust is easier to break than to rebuild, but it was a start. "Can I ask you something?" I finally said. "Why didn't you just ask me for the money for Megan?" "I would have considered it." Amber sighed. "I don't know, pride maybe. I already lent her money from my savings, and I didn't want to admit I had overextended myself, and—" she hesitated. "I guess I've always seen your gaming as somewhat frivolous. I didn't consider that it could mean as much to you as my bags mean to me." Her honesty was refreshing, even if her attitude still bothered me. "We value different things," I said. "That doesn't make either of them less important." The next day, we both went on our respective missions, Amber to GameStop to recover my PS5, and me to Elite Consignment to buy back her bags. It cost more than I had received for them, as the store had already priced them for sale, but it was worth it to restore what I had taken. When we met back at the apartment, there was an awkward exchange of items, like a hostage swap in a spy movie. "Thank you," she said, carefully inspecting her bags for any damage. "They're all okay." "Thank you," I echoed, setting up my PS5 again. "Looks like everything's here too." But we both knew it wasn't just about the physical items. Something fundamental had shifted in our relationship. We had both crossed a line, violated each other's trust in a way that couldn't be easily fixed. That evening, we had a long, honest conversation about boundaries, respect, and communication. Amber admitted that she had been dismissive of my hobbies while expecting me to respect hers. I acknowledged that my retaliatory action, while making a point, wasn't the healthiest way to address the issue. "So where do we go from here?" she asked as we sat on the couch, physically close but emotionally still cautious. "We need to establish better boundaries," I said. "Your things are yours, my things are mine. Neither of us makes decisions about the other's belongings without explicit permission." She nodded. "And we need to communicate better about money. If either of us wants to help someone else financially, we discuss it first." "Exactly," I agreed. "And most importantly, we need to respect each other's interests and values, even if we don't share them." It's been a couple of weeks since then. Things between Amber and me are still a bit strained, but we're working on it. The incident forced us to have conversations we should have had months ago, about respect, boundaries, and what we each value. I'm not sure if our relationship will fully recover. Trust is a fragile thing, but we're both trying to learn from what happened. The PS5 is back under the TV and her bags are back in the closet, but they're not just objects anymore. They're reminders of a lesson we both needed to learn. Sometimes, to understand another person's perspective, you need to walk in their shoes. Or, in this case, carry their bag or play their game. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that respect isn't about understanding why something matters to someone else. It's about accepting that it matters, even when you don't understand why. And sometimes the most important things can't be replaced with money, no matter how much you're willing to spend.